Well, hello, welcome to I Love Gay today. And we are here with a friend and somebody I've gotten to know over the last few years, Rob Smith with the Phluid Project. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny because I was just saying earlier, I feel very fortunate that I was included and got to know you at the very beginning, at least of what when you kind of came on the scene and you opened your store right there in New York City. And that was a very unique and probably one of its first of its kind projects.
Yeah, it was one of those things that when you create something and you realize that you created something that's never been done before, it's a pretty amazing sensation. And then to have it be a physical experience and to watch people enter the space for the first time and just take in this sense of warmth, acceptance, freedom. It was really a very powerful experience.
Yeah, and it showed, and I've enjoyed, coming to get to know and watch some of your evolution over those years. But especially at the beginning, I mean, your whole start, you had this whole background in retail, and you kind of brought that together with some of your goals and desires and things. And so, yeah, how'd you get started with all this?
Yeah, I like to say that creating Fluid was merging my profession, which is retail and fashion, and my passion, which is social justice, and
Yeah,
putting those together to create the world's first gender-free store is how we started.
yeah,
This idea that, but it was more than a store, as you know, it was a space that was really focused on gender-free fashion. So wearing what you want to wear, not what somebody tells you you should wear or not wear. And then really focusing on community
yeah,
and education and activism. And that was where the things that we really stood for and continue to stand for today with the Fluid Project and the other divisions of Fluid as well. They've
yeah.
each of them have grown in their own way. Like we've really doubled down on each of them, which is really fun. We've stuck with the fashion part of it, but then we really doubled down on education and then community and activism.
Yeah. But just like you were saying, it was interesting because what stood out from your store was that space you had in the back, and you and I had sat back there and just kind of chatted about life and business. And but I remembered it was you had the several steps that went all the way up,
Yep.
and but it really was kind of a communal social space built into a store.
It was, and which was kind of untraditional, but it's because the real estate's so expensive on Broadway, as you know, and then to allocate a third of the space for community space.
Yeah.
But it was a gathering place. It was a place where we had over 250 events in 2 years, from panel discussions and fashion shows and poetry reading and comedy nights and launches of individual indie brands. And it was really as much a meeting place and community space as it was a retail space.
Yeah, yeah, and then, but for those that don't know, you had the retail space for a few years, and but now it's since closed, and you've kind of now focused on. I believe you're now in 8,000 stores, including Nordstrom, Target, Macy's.
Good, you did your research. Good job. Yeah, so no, we still have our online store. So we
Yeah,
still have the virtual space. It's not the same as a physical space,
yeah,
but it's still doing very well. And then moving the business to a wholesale model. So yeah, it's showing up from lots of different points of distribution. I really like appreciate the fact that we're in Nordstrom and Macy's and these better department stores, but also in Target. And and we also are in airport shops with Hudson News, and we're in college bookstores.
yeah.
And we're all in these interesting spaces and places showing up. Just launched an intimacy collection with Spencer's, which is really neat. And actually a binder, which is the first time a binder has actually been accessible in a physical retail space at an affordable price point. So doing some fun stuff with some retailers. I really
Yeah.
enjoy that part. Yeah.
That's like the business side on one end, but you and I we have crossed paths over and over again in New York, and because you always show up, you're at and what you're showing up to is there's all these LGBT business events, whether it's with the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber and others, and I've loved being able to kind of see you out there because you're always kind of not just showing up, but also kind of making sure you're part of those conversations as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, just like you, I want to lean in and be a part of conversations, meet people. You're not going to meet too many people sitting behind your computer. And I think we've all gotten a little comfortable with that since COVID. So I'm working on breaking out and showing up at conferences, showing up at trade shows, speaking in person at companies. And getting back out there again, and really it's like reliving the experience of the store, which is getting to know people, and really the only way you can, which is face to face
Yeah.
and breaking. Yeah,
But I really think that whole, that really was an extension of not like who you are and what you enjoy doing, because now you have Get Fluid, where that kind of weaves all that together from everything we've talked about so far. But now it kind of weaves into business and education and giving side of what you like to do.
get fluid. I do want to say, like, one of the things that I really liked about the store was one of the social codes is we're all students and we're all teachers. And as I became a student there, then I turned around and became a teacher.
Yeah.
And that was really powerful to be able to go in and start to speak to corporations, and then started to expand on the work and really bringing in some great teammates. I've got Leah and Cyrus and Hope is the team that really does the work now. We go do education and training, but we also are working into strategic advising too, and
Yeah.
helping big corporations really lean into the queer community, lean into not just guests, but also their employees as well.
Yeah. No, I like that. By the way, I know Cyrus.
You know Cyrus? Yeah,
Yeah.
Cyrus is so wonderful.
Yeah. I got to know him through, he was through one of the LGBT advertising and marketing conferences we were doing, and with community marketing. And yeah, he had attended, and he was actually a photographer at some of those as well.
That's
So
right. That's right.
you're in very good company.
And if you know Hope too, you probably know who Hope Giselle is. Hope's also our director of training, terrific as well.
Yeah.
Such a great team and doing such good work. And I really, I look at my days and who we're speaking with and the companies we're working with, and I just think what an honor it is to represent the community like as we are, and all different ways that we show up as a community. It's not just through one lens, but it's through many lenses, and to help make companies better. And sometimes I think companies are doing the work that the government is failing at, and the companies are leaning in and doing the right thing
Yeah.
where government is often failing us.
No, no, good point.
Yeah.
And that's where also though you were out there on stage. I enjoyed watching one of the videos I picked up on was the breaking the gender binary with the you did a TEDx, and
I
I
did a
like
TEDx.
that's pretty good.
I still think it's like one of the only TEDx's where there's more thumbs down than there are thumbs up, which I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I don't mind. It just means that people were uncomfortable with the conversation I was sharing and
yeah,
maybe didn't appreciate me wearing a skirt, which I think there's just still a lot of, when you put yourself out there and you have these conversations, often received very well, and many times make people uncomfortable because their uncomfort is their internal discomfort, and
yeah,
they're taking it out on whoever they feel like they take it out on. They take it out. I mean, I go through social media and I watch lots of folks, Jeffrey Marsh and other people
mhm,
just get celebrated and loved, but also get bashed, just bashed. And it's the own person's self-loathing, but how some people handle it is so impressive. I learn a lot from watching some of these folks.
yeah. No, it's in today's world and all that. My it's not always the best advice, but I often tell folks, the number one thing you get to do besides having thick skin is you have to kind of ignore a lot of that stuff, because number one, they're only doing it, to get a reaction out of you and all your friends and followers. And one of the upsides for social media is if you ignore it, nobody really sees it except for them and their friends, and we don't really care about them as much.
But also, like, what they don't realize they're doing is they're helping you out with the algorithm, because the more they comment, the more the more people see it. So, we try to sometimes a fluid we try to balance out. We don't want our community to see hateful, hurtful sayings, things, but we also love watching our community jump on top of people and kind of give it back. So it's a balance between blocking people and stuff, and silencing some of the negative comments, and also letting them exist so people can see, like, the hatred that exists,
Yeah.
and not hide it. Yeah, so it's always a balance.
Well, you push the boundaries though, and that's where I mean, I actually felt it was. I thought I really liked him. The reason I even thought of you over the last week was the announcement or the post you made about Pride 2024 and with Fluid, and the two key. You had three key points, but two of them were handling the adversity, and also celebrating queer joy. But your main point was is you've got to get out there, and and how do you do that, and how do we and how do we do it more than just in June 2024 this year?
Right, it's a year round effort. a lot of companies just jump in June. They think it's, I always say prides and parades, or I'm sorry, parties and parades is the way people think about
Yeah.
pride, and it's a part of it for sure.
Mhm.
But I think it's if I think there's in an interesting year with election year, an interesting year where we thought it was noisy last year, it's going to be noisier this year.
Oh yeah.
How do you, when you create a space where you allow for hostility to exist, you're endangering the queer community too. And so how do I think that a lot of companies we're working at in the physical space, helping them deal with conflict, helping them find language to de-escalate a conversation, to show, to speak about. We like to think about, and also that, that big places where lots of people go to, there's lots of different customers, and just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you should go rip down the Christmas section. And I just think that people need to understand that there's space for everyone, and
Yeah.
stand and be unwavering in your support, or don't show up at all. But
Yeah.
I think it's a really good time to focus on education and educating employees. There's a lot of misinformation, and using that month to educate, and also to put money back into community, and to, especially through the Phluid Foundation, we work to support grassroots organizations, and to really put money back into community, and to help them, because they're doing the real work.
Yeah.
These folks, yeah.
Like I said, you have a fan. I've loved what you're doing since day one. So, but
Thank
most
you.
important, number one, I'm just really glad that you're able to take some time and share a bit of your story with our audience. And since I go to New York often enough, and you and I run into each other at conferences, I'll have to make sure when next time I'm coming in for something like that, so we can actually hang out and spend some quality time together.
I would love that in a non-formalized sense,
Exactly.
in a place where we can just like have a beer and hang out.
I'd like that. So no,
But
again,
thanks for everything you do. I know just how, and I mentioned this before we started filming, but just how supportive you are of the community, of leaders, of amplifying other voices. And so I just want to say thanks for the work that you do.
well, thank you. It's our
You're
feelings are
welcome.
mutual. So look forward to seeing you soon.
And it feels good, so good.